And welcome back once again to all my junior chess masters. I hope everyone's been staying safe and washing your hands and wearing a face mask or a face shield. I'm actually just got inside now, so I can probably take my face shield off. Here we are. So I've chosen a game from last Saturday between Ilei and J4, which I think we've had together on the video before. I would like to do everyone's videos, people that aren't getting the top places, not just the best players. But I do want the games to be able to teach everyone something. So if we do the really more beginner games where people make big mistakes, I don't think there's so much to learn. We all know we don't want to give away our queen or give away free pieces. So it's probably best if I do the more advanced games. But let me know if you would like to see more beginner games, if that would still be entertaining, and I'll maybe do some of them as well. So this game was from last Saturday. This was for first place. We didn't have our very strong player Diamond Dog that day, so a good opportunity for someone else to get first place. And I like this game because it was pretty close, and there's a common lesson I've been observing with a lot of your games. A lot of people have been opening their kings, and it happens in this game as well. So once we've castled the kings over here, we do not want to move these pawns unless you're confident about what you're doing. You can do it sometimes, but it's very rare. Usually, we mostly want to leave them back and maybe move one of them one space. But a lot of people that lose their games keep opening their kings. Let's have a look how this game went. We have an English defense. This is a common defense when someone gets in the middle with their king's pawn. Getting the knights out. White aggressively tries to take control of the middle, and we have an exchange. Pawns under attack, needs to be protected, and good option by J4. We could have a pawn swap, and instead J4 pushes the pawn forward. It's good to have our pawns advanced, and this pawn could be protected by this one, and white can have nice advanced control in the middle. Good position, good option by Ilei, putting pressure on this pawn. We have to defend this pawn now. And instead of defending the pawn, good idea, J4 has a pin. But keep in mind, if the bishop gets chased away, he could get chased away again, and then black might have a free pawn. Let's see if Ilei sees that. Chases the bishop once, and good idea, J4 swaps off, because otherwise he could be chased away, and this pawn would be unprotected. Now Ilei takes back with the horse. We can use the horse, it puts pressure on the pawn, but which piece have we blocked? Have a look at the black pieces on the back line. We've got the bishop blocked there. J4 gets the knight out, but we've left this pawn hanging. It should have been defended. Free pawn, thank you very much. Pressure on the knight. Ilei defends, and we have a swap. So at this point, who's winning? I'd say black's got a little bit more control in the middle with these two pawns. A pawn in the middle is usually much more important than a pawn on the edge. Castles, and we have a swap here, a knight for a bishop. Black castles, and pretty even. Not bad, the castle there, but really these are the more open two files. I'd want to get both my castles on here, so I might have moved this castle out here. So when we move this one, I think J4's blocked the other castle a little bit. Good idea. White's getting control on this king side. Now this is what I'm talking about, with keeping your king safe. You don't want to let your opponent get all the control on the king side. It's not as important to get control over here. This is where we want to have control. So white stays on that king side, looking a bit dangerous. And what's white threatening now? Maybe pause the video. If you're black, you need to see what the threat is. And all your attention's on this defense here. How's white going to break through this defense? Good idea by Ilei. Blocks the queen from coming into this pawn. And here's what I'm talking about. J4 has now opened up the defense for his king. And these pawns are probably going to become isolated pawns now. So I understand he's excited. He wants to get this pawn to move. And he wants to get through to the black king. But if your player's rated 1,000, they're probably a pretty good player. And they've probably seen what you're going to do. That's why he did this last move. So it's probably not going to fall for it, is my guess. He could maybe defend here. He could, whoops, hit daisy. Sorry. I'll just go back. Press the wrong button. Back. Here we are. Or he could defend there. And the black king is a little bit open, but these pawns are still pretty strong. I don't know about opening up in the middle here. So the castle's under pressure. Castle moves back. And see how weak this was? All of a sudden, black's king looks much stronger defense than the white king, I'd say. Bishop comes out, taking the pawn. Now just think about pawn structure. Isolated pawns are much weaker. This is still a bit better defense. Pawn's pushing up in the middle. But which piece can white take now? There's a free piece because of this move. Maybe pause the video and have a think about it. White could have taken just here. This pawn's no longer defending the D pawn, but instead, J4 does recognize what's more important is the castle's now under attack. Good observation and pretty sneaky move by Ilei. This is called a revealed attack. We've revealed the bishop attacking the castle behind. Castle puts pressure on the middle. I like that. And not many mistakes in this game. Very sharp. Ilei pushes the pawn up, makes it safe, and takes a strong control in the middle. And, oh, I don't know about this move. That might be the first mistake, except no, sorry, we've got a check. So before Ilei can take the pawn, black king has to do something. And that's the perfect move. This is why it's risky when you've got a piece under attack to do a check and buy some time, because this is a perfect move Ilei's done. Queen's under attack and the horse is under attack. It looks like white's going to lose something. Free horse. J4 is down. And look at J4's pawn structure. Doesn't look very strong. Free pawn. And now you can get free pawns. When they're isolated, they're very easy to attack. J4 puts some pressure in the middle. And Ilei puts pressure on the queen. Good idea. And now just remember, who wants to swap? The person with more pieces or less pieces? Usually the person with more pieces. Who has more pieces? Ilei's got the extra bishop and, well, and a better pawn structure. So you could happily swap. It might be a bit of a boring option because we know exactly what's going to happen. It's not the most exciting, but it's usually a strong strategy. And he goes for the swap. J4 takes, and a free castle down here, very sneaky, because before when we were here, this is called a skewer. The more valuable piece in front needs to move, and the less valuable piece that's still worth more than a bishop, as you know, gets taken. Very sneaky. Good work, Ilei. And at this point in the game, with an extra castle, I'd say it probably makes the difference. I'd probably give up here if I was playing a strong player. But you never know if someone makes more mistakes. Let's have a look. Free pawn, check. And there's a couple of fork opportunities here. Now it's very important if a king's open. If the king's open, you can do a lot of forks with the queen. So it's a little advantage for white to be checking the black king already. Free pawn for J4. Check. And the castle moves to safety. And there's a lot of checks here now because there's not many options for white. You just have to keep hoping that you'll get another fork. So the white queen chases around the black king as much as possible. And here we go. Here's the fork. Very sneaky. Check here. And we're going to get a free castle. And all of a sudden the tables have turned and it's even again. Black king has to move. 3 pawns and a queen each. We're not sure who's going to win once again. I'd say this pawn and this pawn are pretty dangerous because they're passed pawns. These are the ones we want to try and get to the end. Check. But the easy way to take pawns is with forks. They're both looking for more forks, and here's one. Eli's found a check, and the queen's attacking two of the pawns which could be taken. King moves, pawn taken, check, and offering a swap. And this is a really cunning move. I can see Eli knows his endgame pretty well. This is what we want to do. If you've got one extra pawn, this will probably make the difference at the end to win the game. Except let's just count. If the queen takes the queen and the pawn takes the queen, it'll then be white's move next. And white would actually get this pawn maybe to the end first. So I'd probably do the swap if I was white. But instead, J4 is avoiding the swap and goes for a check. And another check. Would you swap now? Again, if you count carefully the moves at the end, which is really important, you could swap off. This white pawn would get to the end first, but then this pawn at the same time would also get a queen. So it would be pretty close. Check. Chasing the king around until someone is going to make a mistake. White's only got one pawn left. Check. Very tight endgame here. Chasing that king around, and here, I want you to pause the video here. There's a key move here to decide who wins. If you're black, how would you win the game now? Think carefully. I really want you to try. If you don't usually pause the video, there's not many pieces at the end. So if you're careful at the end, we shouldn't make mistakes or miss opportunities. There's not many pieces, so you only have to look at black's 4 pieces and check everywhere they could go. You could check every single option. You know how we say at the start of a chess game, there's more possible games that could happen than there are grains of sand on the beach? Well, it's not the case at the end. At the end now, there's only a small number of possible moves that each player can do. So we shouldn't miss anything. We should check every single option. If you're black, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves the king can do, 1 move the pawn can do, and a few more moves the queen can do. But you should be able to look at every single option. There's probably not going to be anything super good you can do with the king. The pawn's a pretty obvious move, so it must be the queen. Where would you move the queen? I hope everyone's got it. Again, pause the video if you haven't seen it. Look at this lovely move. We have a skewer, which is the opposite of a pin. We have the more important piece in the front of the attack and the less important piece behind. The king has to move, and this seals the deal. I'll fast forward from here, but obviously white doesn't have much of a chance here. The best you could hope for is a draw if black gives you a stalemate, but Eli's been playing so well, I don't think that will happen. Fast forwarding, black pawn's obviously going to get to the end. 2 queens. He lines up the electric fence, not quite, not an electric fence, and here we have checkmate. Lovely finish. And I like to see players using a bit more of their time. It's a long, close game. They still could have used more time, but at least it's not another game where players still have 8 minutes at the end. We want to think slowly and carefully, especially at the end. So, I did announce last week that there would be a variation on Sunday, and I made a mistake that didn't end up happening. We had a normal game on Sunday, so instead, the variation is this Sunday. Let me know what you think. And good luck, everyone. I hope you're enjoying studying at home, going okay. And I encourage you once again, if you want to beat players that you're almost beating and you really want to see yourself improve in the tournament, have a little go on YouTube and look up some openings. Again, I suggest the London opening on YouTube and the King's Indian. Good luck. I'll see you soon.